She's not looking at your face right now. She's looking at what your body does when you're not trying to impress her. Here's the uncomfortable part. Most men spend years learning what to say to a woman and 0 minutes learning what to do with their energy when words aren't enough. And there's this one small, almost throwaway gesture, something so simple it looks like nothing, that either makes a woman's brain light up with attraction or makes her cringe and mentally file you under try hard forever. It's a flying kiss. Yes, that thing. The one you've probably seen in movies, in TikToks, in old school romantic scenes, and dismissed as cheesy. But here's what almost nobody tells you. The gesture itself means nothing. It's neutral. What makes a woman's pupils dilate or roll isn't the kiss. It's the 4 psychological conditions underneath it. Get those 4 conditions right, and this becomes one of the most disarming, magnetic things you can do. Get them wrong, and you become the guy she screenshots to her friends with a "lol, he did not." So which one are you about to become? Stay with me, because rule number 3 is the one that separates men who are naturally magnetic from men who are trying way too hard. If you clicked on this, I already know something about you. You're not a guy chasing tricks. You've probably tried the confident advice before. The fake bravado, the negging, the scripted lines, and it felt hollow. It felt like wearing someone else's jacket. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you suspected the real answer wasn't a line, it was something underneath the line. You're right. Let's be honest about something most dating content won't say out loud. Women are not attracted to gestures. They're attracted to what a gesture reveals about a man's internal state. A flying kiss performed by a nervous man reveals anxiety. The exact same gesture performed by a grounded man reveals playfulness, self-possession, and warmth. Same physical action. Completely different psychological signal. That's not opinion. That's how the female brain processes nonverbal cues, and I'm going to walk you through exactly why in a few minutes. This video is for a specific kind of man. Maybe you're the guy who's great in conversation but goes stiff the moment things turn playful or romantic. Maybe you're the guy who's been told you're too serious or too nice, and you don't understand why lighter, more expressive men seem to pull attraction so effortlessly. Or maybe you're already talking to someone, texting, dating, early stages, and you sense there's a ceiling on the dynamic. Things feel fine, not electric, just fine. And you don't know how to break through that ceiling without looking desperate or awkward. If that's you, I want you to hear this clearly. The ceiling isn't your face, your height, your income, or your jawline. It's your expressive range. Most men have exactly one emotional gear in front of women they're attracted to: careful, controlled, polite. And control past a certain point reads as low confidence. Not because it's aggressiveness, but because it signals you're managing her perception of you instead of just existing in front of her. Here's my promise to you today. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the 4 exact psychological rules that determine whether a playful gesture like a flying kiss, or honestly, any expressive, affectionate move, lands as magnetic or lands as cringe. These aren't tips. They're the underlying mechanics of attraction signaling, the same mechanics behind why some men can tease a woman and she leans in, while another man says the identical words and she goes cold. Curiosity seed number 1. One of these 4 rules is the reason confident men accidentally repel women without knowing it, and it has nothing to do with being too forward. Curiosity seed number 2. There's a specific moment, a window of maybe 2 to 4 seconds, where this gesture works almost every time, and outside that window, it almost never does. I'll show you exactly how to recognize it. Before we get into the 4 rules, though, I need to correct a misunderstanding that's costing men attraction every single day. Because if you don't understand why the gesture works when it works, the 4 rules will just feel like more tricks to memorize. And tricks fall apart the second you're nervous. Understanding doesn't. So let's talk about what's actually happening in a woman's mind in that split second. Most men believe attraction is built through effort. Say the right thing, do the right gesture, perform the right amount of confidence, and attraction follows like a vending machine: input, output. That belief is why so many men freeze before doing anything playful. They're running a silent calculation. Is this the right move? Will this work? Is this too much? And here's the part that's going to sting a little. Women can feel that calculation happening, not consciously. But somewhere in the nervous system, hesitation reads as risk, and risk reads as low status. So the first thing to shatter is this. It was never about the gesture being right. It was about whether the gesture came from ease or from performance. Let that sit for a second because it rewires everything else in this video. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Psychologists who study attraction signaling point to something called behavioral congruence, basically, whether your body language matches your emotional state. Women are extraordinarily good at detecting incongruence. It's partly evolutionary. Reading a man's true intentions and true confidence level accurately used to be a matter of physical safety. That radar didn't disappear because we invented smartphones. So when a nervous man throws a flying kiss, his face says playful, but his shoulders, his breathing, his micro hesitation before doing it, all of that says anxious. The woman's brain doesn't process this as he's being romantic. It processes the mismatch first. And mismatch to the nervous system feels like mild alarm. That's the cringe reaction you've seen. It's not moral judgment. It's a threat detection response to incongruent signals. Now compare that to a man who's relaxed, mid-laugh, genuinely enjoying the interaction, and throws the same gesture almost as an afterthought, not performed at her but shared with her. Same physical motion, completely different nervous system output. This time the brain reads, relaxed, safe, socially calibrated, fun to be around. That's the beginning of attraction, not because of the kiss, but because of what the kiss revealed about his internal state. Here's a real scenario to make this concrete. Picture two men on a second date. Both are decent looking, both are witty enough. Man A has been slightly monitoring the date the whole time, checking if she's enjoying herself, watching her reactions closely. At a lighthearted moment, he decides to throw a flying kiss because he read online it builds attraction. It comes out half a second too late, slightly overdone, and she gives a polite half smile before changing the subject. Man B has been present the entire date, not performing, not monitoring, just enjoying himself. At a genuinely funny moment, he throws the same gesture, almost involuntarily, still mid-laugh. She laughs harder. The energy shifts. Nothing else about these two men was different except one variable, where their attention was during the interaction. Man A's attention was on managing her perception. Man B's attention was on the interaction itself. That single difference is responsible for probably 80% of what people call natural charisma. This connects to something called cognitive dissonance in attraction psychology, too. When a woman feels a flicker of attraction toward a man she's not sure is confident, her brain experiences discomfort, two conflicting signals at once. He seems appealing, and he seems unsure. To resolve that discomfort, the brain often defaults to the safer conclusion, which is usually dismissal, not attraction. Uncertainty doesn't get benefit of the doubt, it gets filtered out, which means every hesitant, overthought gesture doesn't just fail to build attraction. It actively works against you by planting a seed of doubt the brain then resolves against you. So here's the real truth this section has been building toward. There is no universal, correct way to give a flying kiss or any playful romantic gesture. There is only a correct internal state to be in when you do it. The 4 rules I'm about to give you aren't really about hand positioning or timing tricks. They're conditions that get your internal state right so that whatever you do next, kiss, wink, tease, touch, comes out congruent instead of performed. That's the difference between a man women remember fondly and a man women bring up as a cautionary story to their friends. Now let's build those 4 rules one at a time. Rule 1. Earn the playfulness. First, the action, never throw a flying kiss or any expressive romantic gesture as an opener or as a way to create a mood. Only do it as a response to a mood that already exists. Wait for a moment of genuine laughter, genuine ease, genuine connection, and let the gesture ride that wave instead of trying to generate the wave itself. The psychology behind it, attraction gestures work as amplifiers, not initiators. They take an existing emotional state and intensify it. When you use them to create a mood that isn't there yet, you're asking the gesture to do work it was never designed to do, and the mismatch between trying to spark something and nothing sparked yet is exactly the incongruence we talked about earlier. The common mistake, doing it in the first 5 minutes of an interaction, or worse, using it to break an awkward silence. Silence isn't fixed by performance, it's fixed by presence. If you throw a playful gesture into a flat, low-energy moment hoping it'll lift things, you'll almost always look like you're trying to manufacture chemistry that isn't there, and she'll clock it instantly. Rule 2. Make it casual, never ceremonial. The action. The gesture should look almost accidental. Quick, light, thrown away over your shoulder as you're already turning to leave, or slipped in mid-laugh without stopping the conversation to perform it. The moment you pause everything to execute the gesture with full attention, you've turned it into a ceremony. The psychology behind it, high-value social behavior, across basically every study on status signaling, is characterized by low investment display. The less a person visibly needs a moment to land, the more secure they appear. A ceremonial gesture, stopping, making eye contact, slowly performing the kiss, signals this matters enormously to me, please respond well. That silent plea is what triggers pressure, and pressure kills attraction faster than almost anything else. The common mistake, treating it like a big moment, slowing down, building it up, watching for her reaction afterward. If you find yourself checking her face immediately after to see, did it work? You've already told her it wasn't casual. It was a test, and she just noticed she's being tested. Rule 3. Let your exit do the talking. The action. The highest impact version of this gesture happens on your way out of an interaction. Walking away, hanging up a call, stepping out of a room, not in the middle of it. Deliver it and keep moving. Don't linger for a reaction. The psychology behind it. This is the rule that quietly separates naturally magnetic men from men who accidentally repel women despite doing everything right. Here's why. Most men, even confident ones, unconsciously want validation that their move landed. So they deliver the gesture and then wait, even for half a second, to see her response. That half second of waiting is a request for reassurance, and requests for reassurance flip the entire power dynamic of the interaction. She's now being asked to manage your emotional state. When you deliver it and walk away, genuinely walk away, don't glance back, you remove the request entirely. There's nothing to respond to because you're not asking anything. This is what creates what people call lingering effect. She replays the moment on her own time without any pressure to perform a reaction in front of you. That replay done in private on her own terms is worth 10 times more than any reaction you'd get in the moment. The common mistake, doing the gesture and then standing there. Even confident men blow this rule by accident because they want to see that it worked. Resist that urge completely. The payoff comes later in her head, not in front of you. Rule 4. Match it to her energy, not yours. The action. Read her baseline personality before you use this. With a woman who's naturally playful, expressive, and quick with jokes, a flying kiss will feel native to the interaction. With a woman who's more reserved, more guarded, more measured in how she communicates, the exact same gesture can feel jarring. Not because it's wrong, but because it's mismatched to her communication style. The psychology behind it. Attraction isn't just about your confidence, it's about pattern matching. People feel safest and most drawn in by behavior that feels like a natural extension of the existing rhythm between two people. A playful woman experiencing playful energy feels met. A reserved woman experiencing the same playful energy too early can feel like the pacing is off, like you're not paying attention to who she actually is, just performing a move you read somewhere. The common mistake, using one script for every woman. This is the single biggest reason gestures like this get inconsistent results online. Men copy the exact behavior without adjusting for the person in front of them, then conclude this doesn't work when really they just didn't read the room. Here's the thread connecting all 4 rules, and I want you to actually hear this part. None of them are really about the kiss. They're about whether you can be relaxed enough, patient enough, and observant enough to let a moment develop instead of forcing one. The gesture is just the visible tip of a much bigger skill, emotional regulation under romantic pressure. And that skill, unlike a script, works in literally every interaction you'll ever have, not just this one. I want to talk to you differently for the next few minutes because I know some of you watching this are going to try what I just taught, and it's not going to feel natural on the first attempt. And I want to prepare you for that honestly, instead of pretending mastery happens after one video. Here's what usually happens. A man learns these 4 rules, gets excited, and then overthinks the next interaction so hard that he becomes exactly the nervous, calculating version of himself we spent the last section trying to move him away from. He's standing there mentally rehearsing, casual, not ceremonial, exit, not lingering. And in doing so becomes the most rehearsed, least casual version of a human being possible. If that happens to you, I need you to hear this without judgment. That's not failure. That's the normal, unavoidable middle step between knowing something intellectually and knowing it in your body. Every skill that eventually looks effortless was, at some point, deeply effortful to learn. The natural, relaxed men you've been comparing yourself to didn't start there. They just crossed this awkward middle stretch before you did, usually with plenty of failed, clumsy attempts nobody ever saw. So here's the reframe I want you to walk away with, because it's the one thing that will actually change your behavior long after you forget the 4 specific rules. Stop trying to perform confidence and start practicing tolerating the discomfort of not knowing how she'll react. Read that again, because almost everything men chase in dating, the perfect line, the perfect gesture, the perfect timing, is really just an attempt to eliminate uncertainty before acting. But uncertainty is not a problem to be solved. It's a condition to be tolerated. The man who can act warmly, playfully, expressively while not knowing how it'll land and remain unbothered either way, that man is what people call naturally confident. It was never about removing the risk. It was about becoming someone who doesn't need the risk removed. Why does this matter more than the 4 rules themselves? Because women aren't actually responding to your technique. They're responding to your relationship with uncertainty. Every gesture, every joke, every moment of vulnerability you offer is, underneath, a small test of whether you can exist without her approval and still be warm toward her. Men who pass that test repeatedly in small ways, over time, become the men women describe as magnetic, not because they knew more moves, because they needed less from every single interaction. So if your first attempt at any of this feels clumsy, good. That means you actually tried something real instead of staying safely inside your comfort zone, which is where most men remain their entire dating lives, wondering privately why nothing ever escalates. Give yourself permission to be a beginner at expressiveness the same way you'd give yourself permission to be a beginner at a new language or a new sport. Nobody expects fluency in week 1, but fluency is absolutely available to you with repetition, with a few uncomfortable rounds of feedback from real interactions, real dates, real moments where it didn't quite land and you learned something from it anyway. The men who eventually become effortlessly playful and magnetic aren't a different species from you. They just collected more reps. That's the whole secret, and it was never going to fit neatly into a 4-step list, even though the 4 steps genuinely help. One last thought before we close. The next time you're in a moment, a laugh shared with someone you're drawn to, a light, easy silence, a goodbye that feels like it wants a little more, don't ask yourself, is this the right move? Ask yourself, am I actually here or am I managing how this looks? That single question asked honestly will do more for your dating life than any gesture, kiss, or line ever could. Confidence was never about having zero fear in that moment. It was about acting warmly anyway. If this gave you a shift in how you think about connection, expressiveness, and confidence, hit subscribe. I break down real psychology like this every week. No fluff, no recycled advice. And I want to hear from you directly. Drop a comment telling me the moment you froze up instead of being expressive, and let's actually talk through it. I read everyone.